Good afternoon or good morning. I mean, it's been a long morning already, but I'm Steve McAllister, and this is Silver Linings. And good morning, Springfield and all the Ozarks. We're getting ready to do a great show. My guest is, you're really going to enjoy my guest this morning. We'll bring her on in just a little bit. Hey, Matt, did you know it's going to be 75 by tomorrow?
Oh my goodness. And it's December.
It's December 1st, and it's going to be 75 tomorrow for the next 2 days.
Oh man.
It's going to be 69 today, but in Branson it might be a little warmer. So, springtime in the Ozarks without all the leaves.
Oh right. That's crazy. You call that an Indian winter, right?
Well, I hope so.
Summer?
Indian summer.
Summer.
Indian summer. And there was a few years ago when, or actually it was 10 years ago, that Rachel and I were first here, and I told her, "Oh man, January is going to be really cold," and she's like, "Does it snow?" And I said, "Oh, there's about 3 to 4 inches of snow in January, but it'll all go away." Well, that was a year that it was 55 all month long.
Oh man.
And so she's like, "Where's all the snow?" And I said, "I don't know. It's usually cold and it's usually snowy, but after that, it made up for it." So, and then she's used to a cold and snowy birthday. Her birthday is next Monday.
Who's this?
Rachel.
Rachel. Wow.
Rachel's going to be the big 5-0.
Oh, you probably shouldn't tell everybody that.
Well,
she doesn't care, does she?
No, she doesn't care.
Good.
She's not watching, and she doesn't watch the recording. So no, she she's weird about it, but I said, "Oh, don't worry, 50 will be fine." My 50th birthday was good.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, thanks. It wasn't that long ago. Well, almost a decade. So yeah, I'll pretend that it was not a long time ago.
In dog years.
Exactly. So, oh no, but I got 2 years before the other number that comes after 5.
6.
Oh boy. Anyway, we've got a great show for you. I'm looking forward to this. This young lady, she's actually from East Texas or Tennessee, not Texas. I'm thinking of another guest that I had. She's from Texas, but she's from East Tennessee. And I'm looking forward to this, and I've been looking forward to this for a while. And anyway, she's got a great lineup, or I've got a great lineup with her, and she's actually a licensed cosmetologist, and she the production that she's been in, I guess the movie production that she was part of AFTRA, I guess. You know what that is? That's she belonged to a movie company, and
American film.
yeah. And I'm trying to think what after meant, but
She'll
anyway,
tell you when she gets on here, I'm sure.
Huh?
She'll tell you when she gets on here.
Oh yeah. And she loves the arts, and so I'm going to introduce her right now, and I'm going to bring on Delena Francis. Hey, Delena, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're all the way from East Tennessee. I almost said Texas, but it's Tennessee. So I have another guest that 2 of them that are from Texas, and so I always think of Texas right away. But you're the first one I've actually interviewed from Tennessee. So,
boy, well, I'm honored.
Yes, you should be. Oh boy, we have had a challenge here this morning, but you know what? God's in it, and thank you for being there and helping us out. And boy, we had a great conversation earlier, didn't we?
Yes,
we're going to talk
we got
about
to know
racing
each other.
Yes, and I didn't know something about racing until you told me, and I was like, we'll get into that in just a little bit. But first, I think people need to know who Delana Francis is and your testimony.
Yes. Well, I'm Delena Francis. I'm from East Tennessee. I used to live in Nashville for a while. But all my life, I have learned the arts. I dance, sing, act, draw, anything of the arts I've always loved. Um, but my biggest journey is my faith. The Lord has definitely, came into my life and has directed me in a way that is beyond my imagination. And growing up in a Christian home, I got saved when I was 10. And veering away, the Lord has definitely brought me back. I have physically felt the Holy Spirit, you know put his hand on me and guide me and tell me what to do. And I was doing things that it was like an outer body experience. Like I never, I was walking in buildings where I never knew where I was walking, because the Holy Spirit had literally pulled me into a building that he wanted me to go to. And from then, my life was changed. I went from partying to waking up one day and being nauseous at the thought of drinking, deleting all my party friends and getting into church, and everything was definitely by the grace of God. So, and God
Well,
just put me into Nashville, where I was, acting, went to acting school and sang. I was on the General Jackson Showboat. And then when my parents got sick, he moved me back here. He continued to work in my life. And he literally has put people in my life where they said, this is exactly where you need to be. The Lord, the Holy Spirit put his hand on me and he said, this is exactly where I want you to be. Don't doubt yourself. We always question the path that we're taking. And he said, this is exactly where I want you to be. So you just keep focusing, and he's continued to amaze me and put amazing people in my life. And I am blessed for the trials and errors.
and that we have as Christians, we all have trial and errors, and if you don't, well, you should. That's how we
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Yes, definitely.
I've grown in my years of trial and error, and as we were speaking earlier, you said that you definitely um, grew in a lot of different ways, and you said that you were stubborn. No
Yes.
way.
Yes. The Lord has
And your
broken
mom and
me and
dad.
been like, this is not about you, You need to let go. So I've gradually, and I'm still learning. I'm like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yes. Can't do it myself. It's all him.
Well, yeah, it's different because it's a different um, way of looking at it when you're backslidden. I guess you're not thinking about it, but then when you get back with God, you learn from your mistakes, and you're like, Lord, please help me through this. Such as partying. I mean, I learned, for some reason I had when I was in San Diego, and I told you I was in the Navy. Um, I knew that there was something that I was doing wrong, but I guess I just didn't care. And that was
Mm-hmm.
what I was asking you about partying. When you're partying and when you're hanging out with your friends, and I've asked this question to some other people, and they're like, well, no. Well, I knew that there was something there, but I just didn't pay any attention to it. And I guess that's what I was trying to ask you about partying. Did you have any conviction about it?
I think I was so focused on being accepted and finding out who I was. And with the party scene, you end up trying to fill voids. There's holes in your life that you're trying to find, And I think that with partying, that I had that superficial kind of hole being filled and more of an acceptance, and I was looking in the wrong direction. So anybody that was putting any other directions in my mind, I was blocking it out because I thought this is what I wanted, because it was fun. It was that shiny, it was that shiny toy that was in front of me. And just because something you think is great and fills something in your heart doesn't mean that it's right. And he has had so many times where he's hit me over the head, and it's taken a long, long, long time. So many bumps and bruises that I've had to wake up and be like, you know what? I'm running into the same wall over and over and over, and I'm having no fruit in my life. And when you
Mm-hmm.
realize you're not having any fruit, you're not having any growth, and there's something wrong. So it's been a trial and error, and it has been, roller coaster up and down. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as I stay focused on him, he continues to show that light in that dark tunnel. And as long as I can keep my eye on that, then, it's a much easier road. And I did not realize being having you have to have a relationship with the Lord. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about going, just because you go to church does not make you a Christian.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
because, so you have to have that one-on-one personal relationship with the Lord. And once
Mm-hmm.
you have that heart change, and once you have that relationship, it's a different road. It's a different path. And it's much clearer. I
Mm-hmm.
know who I am now. And I know what direction I'm heading. And it's definitely a better ride.
Right. And we know who the author of confusion is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's what he does. He wants to confuse us while we're in that state, just to say, you know what? I don't want to hear about Jesus, or I don't want to hear about that right now. That's not what my focus is. I'm going to be a star, or I'm going to be doing this or that. And that's why you lose focus on that. And that's why some people get convicted and some people don't. And when you hear
You
the
have to know
conviction,
your nose.
hmm, yep, that's what you said earlier. You have to know your nose, and that's a good quote, because I'm going to tell people you have to know your nose. And I haven't heard that. I don't think I've heard that before. I might have, but it's been a while. So thank you for the reminder, because I have to know my nose. And
Well,
you
I heard it from a great speaker. She had said it, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking that. I'm going to steal in that quote. So
have. Well, now I'm going to steal it from you.
you can.
uh, anyway, so I noticed that the not you, but the production that you were with won 9 awards. Was you a part of any of that? Was the feature films that you were in? Were you part of any of that?
Well, Jeremy Taylor, he is a local. He's from Bristol, and he is a SAG. It's a SAG. It's a union.
Right.
And he actually started his own production, and he wanted to do a short film. It's a short film about American veteran and about the emotions, the inner emotions that they deal with. People see the outer part and thinks everything great, but really what goes on the inside. And I was honored to have a little short role in that film. And they have won 9 awards, international in different places, and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment. Because I'm involved not with SAG, but I am involved with a company here in Michigan. I mean, in Missouri. I'm sorry. I had a long night last night, so I already told you why.
Yeah,
but in, but anyway,
you've been taught.
um,
You were reading an email, weren't you? Communicating with people.
yes, and I was communicating and reading at the same time after dozing off. and I woke up and realized, oh, I need to communicate with this person.
Yes.
Uh,
Hmm.
anyway, um, you know, the Lord really has put me in a different. Oh, I was talking to you about. I was involved in a production company here in Missouri, and you're right. It um, when you involve yourself in something like that. By the way, it was not SAG. It was a local company. It was local director and producer, and I'm just glad that it's a Christian company. So
Hmm.
I know what I know what you were going through.
Well, a
Uh,
lot of people now are getting out of Hollywood and getting out of California, and they said they've
hmm
had it and they're going into faith based now. And it's amazing to see how everything's getting turned around because people's eyes are starting to be open. They're realizing.
yeah, Kevin Sorbo is one of them.
Yes. And I was honored to meet him. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he. I met his son too. He was here. We have you heard of the Branson um, International Film Festival yet?
Branson?
Through
No.
okay, because I don't know if you're. Do you still work with the gentleman in Bristol?
He is actually in a couple of shows right now, so they haven't really done anything.
Okay, because that's because Kevin was here in Branson last year, and I was able to meet him along with his son, and his son is like towers him. He's like 6 foot something, and
Hmm.
he's a really good guy. But you're right, he is a good guy, and he's more soft spoken than I thought.
Well,
So,
Kevin has really impressed me by how the Hollywood is treating him and how the direction he's going. He knows where he stands and he's not going to back down.
that's right. You're right. And he tries to protect others too. He tries to
Yeah,
tell them, hey, look for this, look for that, don't do this, don't do that. And that's what we want. We want direction from somebody who's been there and done that.
right.
So it was really, in fact, he's going to be helping us with a film next year. So we really
Oh,
appreciate
awesome.
Kevin. So I'll tell you more about that off the air, and we'll talk later. But it's really a neat thing that he's done to help us out. So, um, as far as I find out that you're a licensed cosmetologist. Does that include theater work? I mean, is it just
You
cosmetology work in itself?
Well, you can do behind the scenes, hair and makeup if needed. But in the cosmetology line, mine was more, I loved haircuts. So that was just something that I love to do. And I've always done, on the side. So I was like, well, I might as well
Mhm.
get paid for it. So,
Oh, you might as well. You also love to cook. What is your favorite dish?
yes. Well, my favorite dish that is not the healthiest dish is Italian
I had
food.
to.
I love carbs and cheese, and it's just, yeah. But
Oh
I will
man.
say my favorite food is garden. You go out into the garden and you get your healthy nutrition foods, and those healthy foods, because I'm big on health. I love health and fitness.
Okay.
So knowing that I'm putting good, organic, healthy food into my body, that's what actually gets me real excited. And we grew up with a huge garden, about a half an acre. Everything that was planted had some type of fruit or vegetable. We had an orchard. We had, a vineyard. We had so many things, and so we would just go out, pick what we want for to eat. Dessert was always fruit from either trees or, raspberries and blueberries. And that's just how I grew up. So those foods is what gets me actually really excited. But
hmm
but my downfall is Italian food.
Okay. Well, I'm right behind you on that one. And pizza is one. No, pizza is
I
one of
tell
them.
you, you do carrots and a slab of cheese with some garlic, and you got my heart.
There you go. And then there's goulash and what's the other one? There's another famous one. It's not goulash. I don't know why I said that, but it is good. There's another one. It's layered. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Are
Um,
you talking about lasagna?
lasagna. I don't know why I say goulash, but lasagna. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
And if you can fix a good goulash, I mean, see, I don't know why I'm fixed on goulash. Goulash and lasagna, it's definitely two different Italian dishes, correct?
Yes. Now I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a connoisseur of Italian. I just love the food, you know. But I try to stay away from it because it is an addiction. So I try to do homegrown garden stuff instead.
Well, as long as you're keeping healthy and telling other people to keep healthy, you're going to be good. And you got to maybe you need to train me because I'm trying to lose weight, but it's like that temptation. Anytime you go to a buffet, shame on you. You need
Mm,
you just need to train
buffets.
yourself.
Yeah.
What was that?
One thing I've learned is you've got to learn your body because everybody's body is different. You got to listen to your body because it tells you what you need to do.
Hmm. And so you were talking about I'm adding this. I didn't plan on it, but since we talked earlier about racing, you're in the hub of racing. What kind of racing is that?
Bristol Raceway.
Bristol
Yeah,
Raceway.
you have Bristol and then you have Daytona. So you got two big races, but we're the Bristol Raceway. You know, honestly, I've never seen a race. I just hear it from the outside of the window. But yes, I've never been to them.
So you got a good seat.
Yeah. Well, I used
You-
to when I lived out in the country, but everything's kind of built up. So now I'm kind of exclusive. So that's okay.
that's okay. You don't miss it. And I don't miss
Not
the
at all.
train. I was telling you about the trains. I used to live back behind a railroad track, and every once in a while they beep the horn because there was a road right next to it with the gates. So we'd hear the ding, 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 and then the horn,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, my wife and I could not get away from whether we was in a motel, whether we was at somebody's house. We'd always hear this train horn in the distance. It's like, man, we can't get away from trains.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you said that you were involved in film. What is your favorite? Is it drama? Is it comedy? Have you been involved in dramas and or comedy or both?
Since elementary, I've been in theater. I went through theater, even theater classes in college. I love comedy. I'm kind of a quirky person anyway, but I like all sorts drama. Anything that is, keep my interest. I love, stage. So, and then with that and with singing. So, yeah, I like it all.
Oh, well, that I like adventure myself. I like comedy. So I guess adventure is probably one of my most favorite. And so I watch, a lot of those PG and not G's, but like your Jurassic Park, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you're
The sci-fi.
Jurassic. Mm-hmm. Sci-fi. Thank you. That was another
Yeah.
one. Um, but the TV shows that I used to get into were sci-fi, like you're Lost in Space and things like that. The old fashioned or not old fashioned, but old time, I guess, sci-fis that people used to watch on TV. And I don't know what they
Mm-hmm.
did with sci-fi today, but it's not the same, I guess, for me.
Honestly, I love sci-fi and fiction and action. I'm not that much on, girly kind of shows, but it has to have a really good plot in order for me to be interested. Or if
Hmm.
I know the characters, and that also interests me. I like to watch the people that I know. But yeah, I I like about anything as long as it has no foul language. That's what I don't like.
Amen. See, that's a lot of your shows or movies today. Your whether it's comedy. If you start using foul language, that it drops the comedy for me. The
Yeah,
old comedy. Yeah, yeah. It's no longer funny. There's
and
nothing
it's
funny
getting
about swearing.
worse.
Yes,
It
they're
is.
really
I'm like,
pushing the
it's
envelope.
unnecessary. It is unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Why people laugh at something that especially if they say, "Oh, f that," or blank this, and
Mm-hmm.
like, why is that so funny to you? And I would always like to ask somebody, what's so funny about that particular word?
Yeah.
Is it the way it's being played? It doesn't matter how it's being done. It's just wrong. So
Right.
I was always curious about that, and I might ask that question sometime to somebody, but a lot of my guests are Christians, so but of course their testimony, they might have a testimony to where they used to do that, and they may give me an honest answer about that. So, um, how did it make you feel waking up and knowing the feeling of parting was over and done with your life?
Mm. It was like a breath of fresh air. The air itself was so much cleaner, and
Hmm.
I did not realize we were talking about sound around us. And it's like once, you know, when you live in a big city, you don't hear the fire trucks. You don't hear, you're used to it. And that doesn't bother you because you're used to it. And it's like that with sin. It's like you don't realize how dark you felt inside. You don't realize how tense and how messed up you are until it's revealed and you're like, "Ah, oh, this is how it feels when you don't have that." And it's a
Hmm.
continued struggle, but now I can feel it if I do veer away and I can feel it coming back. I know what it feels like now, so I can be like, "Nope, not today. Not today." So it's a
Exactly.
different, you have different eyesight. You have, the whole world is different. You view life different. You view people different. It's just, I wish more people would open up their eyes and see that. The way the world is going on now, it's like they don't know. When Jesus was crucified on the cross and people were persecuting him, they thought they were doing right.
Hmm.
And if they only had their eyes opened and turned to God, they would have not done that. And it's like people now, they think they're doing right, but they're lost and they don't understand. So
Hmm.
I hope I answered your question.
Oh, no, 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 you did, and because different people have different answers, and that's okay too. Because depending on their life, what happened with them before, they will answer it quite differently. But sometimes, um, when the depend, I guess it just depends on your life before. So that's all I'm going to
Hmm.
say about that. So I noticed too in your information that you were a school teacher and you love kids. What made you stop teaching just in general, just because of everything else, like your arts that got in the way in a positive way, that is?
Yes. Um, you know, I loved challenging kids. I liked those kids that was disrupting in the class, those kids that frustrated the parents. Those were the kids that I was drawn to because I wanted to let them know that, you know, that they're safe and there's always good in everybody. And I wanted them to know that there was something positive in them. So I always took on to those kids. They would always give me the challenging kids. And I would show them love and show that they're special in their own way, And I worked at a private Christian school, which the Lord definitely pushed me into. And I can tell you, how I got into that. But I started working at a private Christian school for many years, and that's kind of how my life changed. And when I was in Nashville, I went back to school and worked at elementary school. And I did that for a while until those kids that I had a passion for started getting to me. And then once I realized that I wasn't giving them what they needed, then it was time for me to leave.
Yeah. There's a time for you to, there's always a time for you to leave. And when they start getting to you and you know yourself is about ready to do something that you
Hmm.
know you shouldn't, it's time to give it up.
Yeah,
Was
because
it
you
a,
never know
was
what
it
these
an,
kids are going through at home.
mm-hmm,
And so when they come to you, you're their mentor. You can make an impact because you don't know if they're going to go home and what's going to happen. So
right.
as long as I brought a positive influence in their lives, that was when I stayed. But once I felt like it was time for me to go, then that was when things was getting to me. And I didn't think that that was right for the kids.
Right. So do you ever see those kids? Have you heard from them or any
You
of the
know,
kids in
there
Christian
are
school?
kids, yes, there are kids that are married and got kids themselves, and they continue to say, thank you so much for, not giving up on me. And, where there's so many teachers that put them into tension, or so many teachers that was frustrated with them, and they just remembered my love and me bringing some positive influence in their lives. Seeing people that are now parents and saying those things is what made it worth it.
Man, that is great because my brother, he was a alternative school teacher, and he didn't get the worst of the worst, but he got some challenges himself, and I didn't think of him as a ever a teacher. I was like, "You're a teacher of who?" And but you know what? They really liked him, and they really followed after him. And he said, "Now this is what's going on." And after he left, they were upset. They were not crying, but they were really upset that he was leaving. And of course, he didn't say nothing to him. He just kind of said, "Well, I'm moving on. I'm leaving." And it
Mm-hmm.
got real quiet in the room. And so he knows that he made an impact. So, like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you made an impact with those kids. And now they're parents of their own kids, or parents of kids. And I hope that those kids are learning by their parents, and their parents are teaching them the right way. Um, so, what's for the future for you, Delana? What's in the future?
Oh, my future is just stay focused with the Lord. He's got so much for me, and just making sure that whatever I do, if it's acting, if it's singing, um, that I do make some type of positive influence in somebody's life.
Right. Man, that's great. Because you've got a long. I'm sure you're going to have a long and prosperous career in whatever you do and whatever God's got planned for your life. Whether it's the arts, whether it's teaching. Now, you said you're teaching all these different things, and you know what? God's going to open up a door sooner or later for you to go public with what you're doing, and I'll be praying for you.
Well, thank
And
you.
so, is there anything that you'd like to say that maybe as a teacher, as a who you are? Is there anything that you'd like to say to anybody that out here, that might be listening that really needs to hear some positive seeds, I guess, to
What
grow?
I say is, you know, having a relationship with the Lord is very important. You can even open up your Bible and read the words, but it's the relationship, the personal relationship. Once you have that connection with the Lord, He will start opening up doors. You have to step back from your life and say, do I have fruit in my life? If there is no fruit, then there's something that's wrong. A tree cannot produce fruit unless the roots are being rotten. So once you start feeding in the proper nutrition in a tree, then it's going to be full of fruit, and that way it will be given to the community. So, you have to step back and look at your life and see if there's no fruit, then there's something that you're doing wrong. It is an everyday challenge because the world is feeding us so many negative things, and we have to be careful who we listen to, what we do, and who gives us that information. We have to be careful because even people that say they are Christians, or you think they're good, you have to know.
Yes. And you bring up a really good analogy. I'm thinking of all the vineyards that you said that you had, and God bless your parents for uh, having um, having you in their life. And of course, I was going to ask you about before they. One more question, I guess. Before they got sick, was there any part of them that, because of your partying ways, that they were praying for? Were they prayer warriors?
Oh, yes, yes, they were. They constantly, if I know that the Lord was with me through each step, because I probably would either have been in jail or been dead or in a car accident, something. But the Lord, for some reason, which I know why, but for some reason, the Lord has just sheltered me. Even though I went out there and did what I did, I have been very blessed because the outcome of all the decisions that I made would have been so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that I had prayer warriors. I was always raised in church, and, constantly study. Because I was saying, you can go to church, but it doesn't mean that you are a Christian.
That's right. I mean, there are pastors, there are deacons that you would think that all
Mm-hmm.
these years were Christians,
Yeah.
and when you see a pastor go on an altar and a deacon, that says it right there that they broke is what they did. They broke
Mm-hmm.
and finally said, and they're afraid that people are going to say something. No, there's the congregation. Actually, people should come up and put their arms around them and say, "I'm praying for you."
And one thing
So,
too, I gotta say is I know people looks into Christians and say, well, in that church, that deacon did this and this and this, so therefore I'm not going to go to that church. People unfortunately do make wrong decisions. However, we should not let other people's decisions determine our relationship with the Lord.
exactly. Well, Delana, again, thank you very much for being my guest today, and I'd like to have you back on again sometime next year.
Okay, well,
If
thank you
not,
so much for letting me be a part of y'all's show. I appreciate
you're
it.
very you're very welcome. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
For joining, Matt. Thanks a lot for helping us out there, and we'll see you next week. Take care.